Hi, my name is Mark Bernard, and I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about religion, the Russian Orthodox religion as it exists in the Russian state under Moscow, under the Tsar, the church. And it's going to be a fun video. There's a lot of information, so hang on. Don't go away. My claim is the Russian Orthodox Church as it exists in its current state in the bureaucratic form in Russia. The Russian Orthodox Church in Russia is not a religion in my understanding. Now, we have to be sensitive here because Orthodoxy certainly is a religion and the followers of Orthodoxy are certainly authentic people. But my claim is within the context of the bureaucratic structure, top down from the Patriarch Cyril, and what it tries to achieve in Russia is not my understanding of an authentic religion. It is not a religion. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 19th century. We're going to talk about some literature in the 19th century. We're going to talk about what is a religion? How do I define it? We're going to talk about the geopolitical effects of religion on the world. We're going to talk about some prophecies. And that's just more for fun. And you don't have to subscribe to that aspect of it, but that's just more for fun, lightheartedness. We're going to talk about some pro-Ukrainian YouTubers and their stances. We're going to talk about dark fantasies and what they are in this context. And lastly, why Ukraine will win and Russia will lose in the context of the discussion. So there's a lot to discuss. And it's very important, but there's a lot of fun things in here too. So in the 19th century, in the 1800s, there was a lot of literature coming out, specifically like Sigmund Freud, and I would consider that one of the great books of the Western world, literature. And he often talked about repression, but what he was talking about was libidical energies, repression in Victorian England of libidical energies. And certainly Bram Stoker's Dracula is a literary reflection of that. It's a kind of a romanticized version where that is what they are repressing. And even there are echoes of Anne Rice's Chronicles and dare I say it, Twilight. Libidical repression. But that's not what is repressed today. Viktor Frankl would back me up. Viktor Frankl from the third school of Austrian psychotherapy, let's say. It's man's search for meaning. You want to live a meaningful life. This libidical energy is talked about in Victorian England being repressed is no longer the thing. It's religion and spirituality and search for meaning that often is subject to criticism and repression. And even people on, the comments I'm a humanist and, I don't subscribe to what you say. Hear me out, okay? That's the repression. So what is religion? Religion, in my understanding, is not a replacement of humanism because I'm a humanist and I'm a person of faith. The Germans have a triple sense Hegelian word, aufheben. It means to cancel, to sustain, and to elevate. So humanism and religion, authentic religion means returning back to the source of who you really are, the divine spark. They go hand in hand, okay? So religion, authentic religion, is about peace, making the world a better place. And most people who are religious, contrary to the media splashes and emotional, dopamine rushes they try to push you on, most people are just basically just going to church on the weekends or saying their prayers, trying to help in their journey in life with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that are thrown at them. But faith is a little bit more than that, authentic religion. Authentic religion is a radical reorientation of your life. It means I reject materialism. I reject political idolatry and political, let's say, worship. I reject getting fired up about politics, about religion. And I'm on the path, I am my religion, of trying to make the world a better place. Trying to be a good human and a light to other people, even when they don't see the light shining within them that's placed there. So peace and love, you don't have to accept what I believe. I'm not a proselyte, and I'd be a very poor one at that. My homilies would probably, have a few toothpicks under their eyes if I was trying to be one. But you have to separate, before we discuss the geopolitics of Russia, authentic religion and religion. So what is religion about in Russia? The Tsar of Russia fears religion. He wants to stamp it out. It goes hand in hand with free speech. How do I know that? Pavel II, John Paul II. John Paul II, Solidarność, like Valenza. These are the things, this Catholicism, this religion, this believing in more than yourself, more than even your life, some abstract thing in a better world, a better humanity, is what the Tsar of Russia fears. It's what brought communism down in Poland. It was like a secret club. You're a part of this Catholic. You go to church. It was above and beyond communism, above and beyond the leadership. Yes, there were Polish communists, of course. But there was something greater than that. There was this abstract sense, we're here for a reason in a meeting to try to explain why we are something and not nothing. What is this life about? And with that force behind them, it was a radical reorientation of their lives. John Paul II, Solidarność, it would be a hard argument to say that those were not moving geopolitical forces in bringing down communism and the power structure in Poland. And that is what Putin fears. He is not religious. He is not, because a religious person would give up all their wealth, perhaps, or a lot of it, and be clothing the poor, helping people, promoting peace, creating a better world. He is not. He's stamping out free speech, and free speech and religion are twins, okay? If it was true that there is religion in Russia, and my claim there is not, at least from my understanding, I'd be able to take the catechism of the Catholic Church and go to Red Square and start preaching it, right? I'd be able to print 1,000 Bibles of my version that I want to hear and start preaching it, preaching like Protestantism or any other religion. You know, maybe there's some authentic Islamic people in Russia. But what he wants is to stamp out this religion and allow an Orthodoxy, let's say 4%, I think, of the Russian population goes to Orthodox Church on the weekends on a regular basis. He wants to stamp it out to such an extent that just like people are apolitical, they're a-religious. You know, you have these YouTubers asking people on the street about the geopolitical events of Russia, and they give these cutesy philosophical answers. Some of them a giggle, some of them look over their shoulder, you know, like, I can't say this. My goodness, if that happened in Poland with this sense of religion, especially 30 years ago, it would be a totally radically different thing, because religion is a radical reorientation of your life. And that is what Putin is afraid of. In the words of Garry Kasparov, if you want to understand the Tsar of Russia, don't look to Machiavelli, don't look to Karl Marx and Adam Smith. Look to the novel, the series, The Godfather. It's a hypocrite. It's a signature of hypocritical religion. It's to stamp. I mean, surreal. He is KGB. In the words of Putin himself, once KGB, always KGB. He's FSB. The Russian Orthodox Church is controlled by the FSB and used as an arm of propaganda. And that is why Zelensky wisely outlawed it, excommunicated it, exorcised it, disenfranchised it, or whatever you want to call it, in Ukraine. Because Russian Orthodoxy in its current bureaucratic state within is not a religion, but an arm of the FSB in Russia. And that is the truth. No whitewashing there. And you guys know I'm a corrosive skeptic. Read the Skeptical Inquirer. And you guys say, well, how can you be a corrosive skeptic and a person of faith? Because I don't believe that God is a super magician. I don't believe in conspiracies or supernatural things. In the words of Hegel, there's a complex stratification of reality. And you have to really read some Hans Kuhn, really go down deeper into this. So that's my claim, but let's talk about some other fun things. I don't know if that's fun. Okay, that's the geopolitical repression. Now let's talk about something that I just think fun, something lighthearted. Okay? I don't take it too seriously, but prophecies about the geopolitical event in Russia and Ukraine, and what biblical prophecies, Catholic prophecies, and other prophecies, Bhagavad prophecies, this ancient pagan goddess, or what, so to speak, said about this geopolitical event. Okay, so Protestants, they talk about the Great Bear to the north, the stamps and everything, and Revelations and the Apocalypse. I don't necessarily swallow that. I went to Wake Forest University undergraduate in North Carolina, and it's a Baptist school. I'm not a Baptist. I'm Roman Catholic. And the guy was like an authority on the Gospels, and he even said, a lot of this apocalyptic literature is really speaking about the Roman Empire at the time it was written, in the stamps that they had for the Roman gods. So I'm just going to push that aside. I won't discount it 100%. But, what about Nostradamus? I think Nostradamus has been too overplayed. I don't see him as a real, authentic Catholic prophet. You can weave anything into his quatrains. It's just like a tabula rasa. You just see whatever you want to see. What about the Fatima prophecies? These are very significant in Russia, because it talks specifically about Russia. I think the last one, that was all secret, talks about the consecration of Russia, or there'll be 100 years of, pain and suffering. Whatever. I think that's kind of spot on, but the Pope misinterprets it. And you say, oh, the Pope can't be, no, Pope's fallible, okay? I'm Catholic, Pope's fallible, he can make wrong chess moves. He's just infallible in regards to, my understanding in the doctrine, but he can make wrong geopolitical statements, wrong prophecy statements. He interprets it as some like consecration, you bless Russia, and no. I interpret it as the authentic walking the walk religion conversion of Russia, or there's going to be a lot of suffering. And what I mean by authentic, like I say, I know personally people that are homeless drug addicts, and then they radically alter their lives through this religion, and they're moving mountains. They say to the mountain, move, and it moves. That is what Putin's afraid of. He is afraid of mountains moving. The Godfather is afraid of mountains moving, because something like what happened in Poland could happen in Russia. Don't you see my line of thinking that there's a difference between authentic religion and the Russian Orthodox Church in Russia, in the matriarchal structure as it exists, with some guys in heavy cloaks and a lot of money and billions of dollars in yachts? It's not real. And we got to be real here if we want to make the world a better place. Okay, so the Fatima prophecies, pretty close in its proper understanding. What about the the Baba Yaga, this ancient goddess of pagan mythology and Slavic pre-Christian beliefs? From my understanding, and quote me if I'm wrong, she believes she's the protector of the forest and the wilderness and the peace in the land. And Russians are really disrupting that, and there's going to be some payback. Okay? So those are just for fun, some prophecies that we're talking about in connection to this geopolitical event. But go back to my underlying premise. In its current form, and being sensitive, the Russian Orthodox Church, within the context of the bureaucracy of Russia, is not a real religion. Now, let's go some pro-Ukrainian YouTubers. What's their stance? This is more of a shout out again to these guys and not critiquing them, because religion is kind of a private thing. And, but these are things that they've publicly made statements about. I mean, you've got Professor Gertis. He's an evangelical. I don't know what his stance is generally about this, but I'm going to tell you, he's for the authentic, walking the walk, give me that good old-time fashioned religion of Russia. And that hasn't happened, I think, in his mind. If it did, people would not be running to the front. They'd be running from the front. That's Professor Gertis. What about Anna from Ukraine? Well, I think she's Orthodox, but I think she's Ukrainian Orthodox now, and she's authentic. She certainly quotes God, or, uses the word, and has some crosses. And I think that, what's that Instagram pro-Ukrainian? Maria Dursk or something like that. I don't remember her name. She wears crosses. She's a pretty good channel. What about Dennis from Ukraine? He's baptized. I think he baptizes his sons. But he's not, he says, I'm not particularly religious, he says. But I think, he keeps on saying this, I'm not particularly religious, but he keeps on talking about religion. And I think he wants to do video about the Russian Orthodox religion and how it's really just an arm of the FSB and it's not an authentic religion. And that backs up Zelensky and the government of Ukraine's move to exercise the Russian Orthodox as it exists, because there's a network of spies. Okay? But, he's funny. What about Constantine inside Russia? Yeah, he's Orthodox. He's probably eye to eye with me. I don't want to, Constantine inside Russia, I don't want to speak, out of line for anybody, but I'm a believer. Saint Michael the Archangel, you talk to me, he's speaking my language. My family was originally Orthodox years ago, and they converted to Ukrainian Catholicism, and then my parents were married in the Ukrainian Catholic Church, and I'm Roman Catholic, okay? A little bit, Catholics and Orthodox, there's a little bit of exchange there because we almost see each other as the same religion. I think the Catholics are a little bit more lenient towards the Orthodox than the Orthodox or the Catholics. I think we have this shared communion under certain conditions, agreements between the bishops. So Constantine, I think, is pretty much on the same page with me, although, a little bit different religion. What about, let's see, what about Georgie from Ukraine? Georgie from Ukraine Matters. Never really specifically says it, but the guy's a straight shooter. I don't know, I think he's kind of like Estonian and kind of like Denmarkian and, humanistic, and that's all cool. He's a good man. A lot of people, are walking the walk without even saying anything specifically and may not even believe themselves, but they're walking the walk. They have the light of God in them. So you've got, what about, I think it's Andrew from Mercado Media. The guy, he's a rebel. But he's authentic in my book. And I bet if you sat him down, he'd profess some faith. So, there are a few others that I'm forgetting right now, but generally it looks like most of the pro-Ukrainian YouTubers, they probably have something going on in terms of faith and higher elevation. Probably some of the top ones are, like I say, Professor Gertis and Inside Russia. And these are, some of my favorite channels. Gertis and I maybe disagree on a few things, but I'd say Inside Russia and I pretty much on the same page. I hope I don't speak out of line, Constantine. Okay, so that's some fun stuff. Now some important things. What about dark fantasies? Dark fantasies are, you're sitting there and, you see something bad happen in Ukraine and you have a fantasy of how this post-apocalyptic diasporian Russia would look, but in a very negative way and harmful to, let's say, the leaders. I highly recommend you don't go to the dark side as much. And I'm somebody who can speak about forgiveness with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune in my life. You cannot seek revenge. You cannot seek, when I play chess, every single time I get emotional and I get all fired up, I lose. You wanna win this, you be a chess player. You be cold and calculating. You wanna be greater than yourself. Don't have dark fantasies. Don't think negative about anybody. If you want to have a fantasy, you can imagine all the Russians putting up the white flag, all the Russians laying down their arms. Isn't that better than a dark fantasy? Isn't that like in Star Wars, which is a quasi-religious movie? Mark Hamill, he's actually a big supporter of Ukraine. Isn't that what they're talking about? Fear, anger, hate, leading to dark fantasies. Isn't that what Anakin Skywalker, he was much weaker as Darth Vader than Anakin originally, because he engaged and he had these dark fantasies and he facilitated and he he were chewing on these fantasies in his mind. You don't want to do that. You want to imagine mass protest or mass surrendering, everybody just dropping their arms. That's a positive fantasy because that's what life is about. That's a positive visualization. Surrendering of Russia, making the world a better place. Yeah, we're going to deal with the injustice. Me, in the words of George Costanza, I want reparations. So you know that Seinfeld reference. I want reparations. I want the people in charge to pay. But you can't personally engage in that darkness because it will eat at you. All right? And I believe that's why they do these acts of terrorism against Ukraine, is to get the people enraged. And when they get people enraged, it invokes dark fantasies, invokes hate, and invokes anger. And that's like the Emperor in Star Wars laughing when either Anakin or Luke Skywalker or whoever was getting all enraged. He didn't care about his pupil or his subject. He wanted that anger to come up and him to engage in dark fantasies. Then you're on the dark side. And that is exactly where the Tsar of Russia gets his power. He's an agent of the dark side. He's working for the other side. Take it metaphorically or take it literally. He needs you to have that. So where is this all leading us? Light wins over darkness. You're going to see this Russia go down. It always happens. You have to have faith. You have to have confidence in this. It's happening. Patience, vigilance. My target date is 12/26/26, an anniversary fall of the old Russia. You can pick another date. I think it's going to happen before that. So that's what faith leads you to prevail and move mountains despite obstacles, to have a better world. And yes, there will be healing, maybe in 100 years or 200 years between these countries. But in the meantime, you focus on the good and see the light and goodness in others. And that's authentic. And that is what Putin is afraid of. He's afraid that people will focus on the light and the good. He's afraid. And that is why he tries to vaporize the St. Jude's Children's Hospital, because he wants to invoke this hatred and this emotion. Because he correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not light force, dark force type energies? Okay, enough of that. Sorry about that, all guys. Ukraine's going to win. Be hopeful. Focus on the good. Make the world a better place. And that feeds the positive energy that will bring down the Putin regime and bring down Russia and make the world a better place. My name is Mark Biernot. I'm a monetary economist. Have a great day. Thank you very much.